Welcome, everyone, to the Thunder Buddies podcast, your source for all things Thunder basketball, courtesy of the Oklahoman. My name is Justin Martinez, and today I'm joined once again by our columnist, Joe Mussatto. Joe, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Justin. I'm good, man.
You were out there with me at this most recent game for OKC against Denver, and it definitely was an exciting one. That's kind of going to be the bulk of the episode, sort of unpacking everything that we saw. But we also got some more stuff to talk about as well, such as OKC's upcoming road trip. We'll also rank our favorite or the playoff matchups we would like to see the most for OKC in a couple of weeks here, which is crazy to say. It's coming up pretty quick. And yeah, we got a couple more things as well, but let's go ahead and just jump into it with this game on Friday. OKC earned a 127-121 overtime home win over the Denver Nuggets. And it was a game with obviously a lot of anticipation going into it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's return after missing 9 games across 24 days due to an abdominal strain. We also had a bunch of other guys coming back for OKC as well, with Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, who had left halfway through the last game against Detroit. So a big game for OKC against a big-time opponent in Denver, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Joe, what was kind of some of the early, or I guess some of the things that really stood out to you from this game?
I feel like this game is hard to talk about, but in a good way, because like so much happened. So where do you begin? I think first off, it was a great Thunder win. Second off, great to have Shai back, and to be able to see Shai versus Jokic. But third, and maybe I'll start here, was just the kind of sort of fight that we had, the Lou Dort ejection that led to the tussle between two very large men in Nikola Jokic and J. Will. And it's just funny to see like J. Will in that. It's like the nicest guy on the team probably, and Jokic just, baring his teeth and looking crazy. And I think it added to, it wasn't the story of the night, but I think it added to like, oh, that was a really good regular season game.
Yeah, without a doubt. And there was also like a lot of buildup leading up to that moment as well. Kind of a lot of it was centered around Jokic. I feel like he was getting into it early on, but pretty much everyone on the Thunder team. Like I have a little timeline here of the events, and it's a pretty long list here, but 9-11 left in the first quarter. Isaiah Hartenstein's trying to set a screen. Jokic shoves him to the floor. Shai is not happy about it. He throws the ball at him. Shai gets attacked. A couple minutes later, you've got Jokic shoving Dort to the floor after battling for a board. And then Aaron Wiggins is not happy about that, so he gets into a little bit of shoving with Nikola. There was no technicals or anything like that for that one. Then a couple minutes later, sort of the prequel to the Jalen Williams thing in the fourth quarter, him and Jokic got into it just a little bit of light shoving during a dead ball. Still in the first quarter, by the way. This is all happening a few minutes into the game. And then, of course, it all boiled over at the early point of the fourth quarter where Lou Dort, after an inbound pass, bumps and trips Jokic, just far removed from the play itself, from where the ball even was. Obviously, it was just a case of it looks like just, things just getting out of hand there. Dort was ultimately given a flagrant 2 and ejected from the game due to unnecessary and excessive contact there. And Jokic gets up. He's obviously upset about it, rightfully so. Gets into it with J. Will, who tries to come to Dort's defense. There's the pulling of the jerseys. There's even a little bit of pulling of like some hair with Jokic and J. Will there. There's obviously the crazy look in Jokic's eyes, like you said, and they ended up getting a technical for each of them, Jokic and J. Will. They stayed in the game. So a lot to unpack there. But I really enjoyed it just in the sense that it felt like a playoff atmosphere. This is obviously two teams that won at it all the way to 7 games in last year's second round of the playoffs. And you would expect them to be 2 of the top contenders for a title once again. So I really think it just sets the stage for what could be an exciting playoff series if we see that happen again.
I've got 2 questions for you. Number 1, how'd you feel about the flagrant 2 call on Lou?
I think that if I'm Lou Dort, I can't complain about whatever they call, because that's just something you should not be doing. Agreed. So like, it's like, did they go too far to eject them? maybe it didn't warrant ejecting. I lean towards like, I think down the stretch of a game, I would rather a game not be potentially decided by the officials, ejecting a player who's obviously a key contributor down the stretch of a game. But at the same time, if you want to avoid that from happening, don't go and trip somebody far removed from the play itself, So like, I just think you kind of have to live with the consequences if you're it's something that you're doing. So I'm fine with it at the end of the day, but I think I would in general prefer that, we kind of let the game play out. It's already been chippy all night. Let's just see, let's keep everyone in the game essentially.
Yeah, I think because of what you said, I mean, it was just totally unnecessary. And was like the contact like severe? No. Like, was Jokic's reaction a little over the top? Probably so. But like you said, it wasn't an isolated incident. There had been a well-documented buildup, as you just told us. I'm fine with the flagrant 2 just because it's like, hey, that's totally unnecessary. Like, it's like the intent matters more than like what the action actually was. So I was okay with it. I hate complaining about officiating, but I will complain about officiating. I thought the crew just like in the first quarter, there was so much contact. Like everyone in the building could see this coming. Not like that action in particular, but this was going to boil over. And boil over it did. My number 2 question: are you okay with a referee calling a player by his nickname when on the mic?
The Joker, yeah, yeah. I think it's fun. I don't care. Everyone knows who that is. Like, if you don't know who that is, then it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's a 3-time MVP. It's a well-known nickname. I got no problem with it. I think it's fun.
This is good. We sit here and we agree too much, Justin. I think you are wrong.
Don't be the old head, Joe. Don't be the don't do that.
I think it's ridiculous. Call a player by his last name. I don't even like SGA. Joker feels even worse to me. Say Gilgeous-Alexander. Say Jokic. It feels too personal. They like it feels too chummy. And I get that James William, that's kind of his brand, and I'm sure he's a really pleasant guy. I just didn't like it because to what end? I made this joke on the Dream Team podcast, but I'll make it here. When Dort got ejected, what if he said, "And Dortcher Chamber has been ejected from the game"? Would you be okay with that?
I think that's sick, actually. I think that's cool. And also, like you gotta consider who the official is. We call him Gucci Mane. His name's not Gucci Mane. So like if we call him that, I think he has a right to do it for other people. Okay. You don't see him complaining.
All right. Just showing our age divide here, Justin. That's all.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, like you said, though, I think it was one of those games where there was definitely build up towards it. And like whether you feel like Dort should have been ejected or not, there really is no debate that that's a play that shouldn't have happened. So you kind of got to just live with the consequences of it. That's kind of how I feel about it. But there was still some really good basketball being played after that as well, where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not play in overtime, Joe. He actually was on a Mark didn't call it a minutes restriction. I think he said that there was a cap on the minutes, but it was a minutes restriction at the end of the day. This again was Shai's first game back in 9 games, and 9 games is actually a little bit longer in terms of time than that sounds because of the All-Star break. It was really 24 days. So he was out for a while, and he looked really good in regulation. I mean, 36 points, 9 assists in 34 minutes, but it was agreed upon before the game. Mark had talked to Shai and also Isaiah Hartenstein, who was coming back from a nagging right soleus strain in his calf. It was already agreed upon that if we go to overtime, Shai's not going to play. Hartenstein is not going to play. So they were aware of that. Those 2 players were. The rest of the team wasn't, which was kind of funny. But yeah, they did not play in OT, and OKC still closed this one out. I thought a lot of guys really stepped up down the stretch. We saw Alex Caruso, who missed that potential game winner at the end of regulation, a little 13-foot floater. I think had a really big sequence with like a little over a minute left in overtime, getting a steal and a layup on the other end. We saw Isaiah Joe step up. He's been getting tougher and tougher looks behind the arc as he's had an incredible shooting streak this month. But he finally broke free in OT, had 2 big 3-pointers. We even saw like Jay Will playing some good defense on Nikola Jokic, held him to 2 points on 1 for 4 shooting from the field in OT. So a lot of guys stepping up to help close this one out without the reigning MVP on the floor.
It was not a great night from an efficiency standpoint for Shea, but I thought he was terrific in the circumstances of like that's what he does in his first game back, especially in the first half when the Thunder just had nothing offensively outside of him. He sits and the scoreboard just doesn't move, comes back in, all of a sudden they're right back in this game. Um, I did think that he started to show some signs of fatigue. I thought in the fourth quarter he was 1 of 6 in the fourth quarter, um, and like you said, it's one of those things. Mark Daigneault said that he let those guys, Shea and Hartenstein, know that hey, if this goes to overtime, you're just not playing. Feels like one of those things. If for Shea, you agree to because it's like what are the odds it goes to overtime? I'll just agree with Coach on this one. Lo and behold, it goes into overtime, and Shea's over there, just can't hold the ball because he's so nervous. He's usually used to being out there, um, and Shea said like if he told him at real time, hey, you're not going to play in overtime, it's like that's not going to work out. But because they settled that beforehand, it did, and kind of another story in this game. I mean, not only Shea's return, but Shea sitting in overtime, and the Thunder still coming out with the win.
Yeah, Mark has talked a lot throughout this season because obviously this is the first time OKC's dealt with injuries to key players. Jada has missed so much time. Shea has missed time. Hart has missed time. Lou Dort. I mean, Chet Holmgren. It's a whole long list of guys that have missed time. And every single time, Mark pretty much points out that it's an unfortunate thing, but we have to try to make a positive out of it in the sense that the guys who are on the floor, it's a chance for them to continue to work on their games, build some momentum individually, learn to work with different sorts of lineups and whatnot. And I thought all of that, really helped prepare them for this overtime period where this is a team that had been playing without Shea for the past 9 games, as we mentioned, had won some big games without him, had stayed in some big games, even the ones that it lost, like against Detroit, for example. That's a really good Detroit team. They managed to stay in that one despite being extremely shorthanded. And I thought all that experience really kind of, paid off in this overtime period. Like you mentioned, there were so many different guys who stepped up down the stretch there to help close that one out. So I thought that was, cool to see. Kind of just you hear them talk about that all the time, but to see it get put into action was cool to see. But yeah, I mean, to your point with Shea, like there definitely was some fatigue. There was also some rust early on. I mean, he went 1 for 5 from the field to start the game. And then there was a little bit of like a change in his usual routine where, he's usually a guy who sits to start the second quarter. And he actually started the second quarter in this one and was like really the guy who kind of got them back in this game. I think they were down. I don't have it on me, but it was like 31-19 or 33-19, something like that at the end of the first quarter. He starts the second and sort of wills them back into it. And then after that, OKC's kind of back in within striking distance and ultimately able to win. So I thought he just did a great job of getting them back in this game. Like you mentioned, not too efficient by his standards. I mean, 12 for 29 from the field, 0 for 3 from deep, but he was able to get downhill, get to the free throw line where he went 12 for 13. So still very much a usual Shea game, even though, there was a little bit of, different factors that went into it. But let's go ahead and talk about something else here, Joe, where this is obviously a game that we would like to see more of in the playoffs. I think you could agree there. But just where exactly does it rank in terms of your favorite playoff matchups you would like to see for OKC? We're going to give our top 3 for each of us, and it could be either conference, so we can kind of, mix and match it here. But let's start off with your number 3, Joe. What do you have as your third most anticipated potential OKC playoff matchup?
Okay, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I am going with the Los Angeles Lakers as my number 3.
Okay, that is a hot take. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so here's my defense. I think our 1 and 2s are going to be the same, so I wanted to go a little outside the box with number 3. First off, I don't think LeBron's going to retire, but no one knows. So one, selfishly, it'd be kind of cool, assuming the Thunder would win, we would see LeBron's maybe last game ever. So that's a big part of it. Everyone knows how much I love watching Luka Doncic play basketball, so that's another part of it. And it's just like I don't know, anytime the Lakers are in town, it's cool. everything is amplified when it is a playoff series. A lot of the Thunder's first round series, I mean, the last two, I mean, no one's paid attention to them. The Pelicans and the Grizzlies, they were sweeps. This one could also be a sweep, but it would be at least an entertaining one given the brand of the Lakers, given the LeBron storyline, Luka, etc. So I'm going with the Lakers.
I'm not mad at it. I mean, Luka Doncic, obviously not a fan favorite in Oklahoma City. I think that will be cool to get to see him there, where obviously the crowd's going to get super into it. I think the LeBron point is a great point as well. A little like Austin Reeves, former OU guy connection there as well. So you got some local ties too. So I'm not mad at that.
And it's a realistic first round matchup.
It is. What are they at right now? Where are the Lakers? They're
in sixth. I guess for this to happen, they would need to fall into the play-in race, probably.
Yeah.
Or this is less likely, but getting up to 5 and well, I just don't think they'd win a 4-5 matchup. So I guess it would take like Phoenix passing them, but you look at it, Justin. I mean, they're a game and a half ahead of Phoenix, 4.5 games ahead of the Warriors. Phoenix has the injuries going on, so I don't know. The Lakers are looking pretty good there in 6, so maybe it's not as realistic as I thought. But if they drop back into the play-in, then obviously it could happen.
Yeah, it could definitely happen as a 1-8, even a 2-7. With San Antonio only being 2 games behind OKC. So I think that would be very interesting. I'm going to go also with a little bit of a different one because, like you said, I think our 1-2 will be similar here, but I kind of went with a different one, and it's actually in the Eastern Conference, so it would be all the way in the finals. Who knows if that'll actually happen? But I will be very interested in an OKC Boston series because I think in order for that to happen, that probably means that a lot is going well for Boston. They're already playing very well without Jason Tatum. I think in this situation, it probably means that he's back for them to make it all the way to the finals. And if that's the case, that is a very, very intriguing and dangerous Boston team where you've got Jaylen Brown playing at such a high level. You got the supporting cast as well. Then you bring in Jason Tatum. You've also got a new addition in Nikola Vucevic, who I think was a good pickup at the trade deadline, kind of helps them do some of the things they used to do with Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis in terms of like a floor spacing 5. You've got 2 great coaches as well. You've kind of got the Boston connection as well with Mark, even all the way up to Sam as well. So I think that would be a very intriguing series. Again, it's all the way down the line in the finals. Maybe it doesn't happen. But to me, that would be a very intriguing one as well.
Yeah, I love that pick. You'd also have the, 2 most recent NBA champions, going at it. Either one team going for a back-to-back or Boston going for 2 and 3. Yeah, the Boston angle is always there. I mean, Mark Daignault grew up in Leominster, Mass, which is not too far from Boston. Same with Presti and Concord. So we'd have all sorts of stories to tell. The return of Tatum and helping the Celtics all the way back to the finals, that'd be something. Jaylen Brown's in the MVP race. I like it. You could sell me on a lot of those East matchups. The Knicks, just because it's New York, and having a finals game in Madison Square Garden. Detroit, there's the Cade OSU connection, kind of similar to the Indiana series, like Middle America, smaller market. I mean, Detroit's got the big 4 sports, but they're not thought of as a big market. But I like the Boston pick.
And if it was Detroit, we could get the media dining there.
That's right.
For those who don't know, is as good as
no
it gets.
one
I mean,
knows.
it's the best.
No one listening to this knows, basically, Justin.
Well, let me inform you guys. So you get there. So first of all, media dining it's pretty good everywhere. I mean, it's the NBA. They've got the money.
It's free
there.
food, man. And
yeah, exactly. But Detroit does it differently, man. I mean, it's literally just a huge buffet line of you can get anything from steak all the way to burgers and pizza and chicken tenders and make your own pasta thing and a salad bar. I mean, it's incredible. You got an ice cream machine, which some teams have, but
the Little Caesars hot and ready slices, they just hit different in Little Caesars arena.
Yeah. And it's a great arena as well, too.
I love it.
Yeah. So that would be cool. Obviously, the two best teams record wise as well. Did you have a team that like just barely missed the cut for you? For me, it was Detroit. But did you have a
Detroit
team?
probably would have been my fourth.
Okay. Yeah. I was considering Cleveland. Like, I do think that actually will be the final series. I think we talked about that maybe a recent episode. But just after seeing the way that OKC handled Cleveland at home recently, no Shea, no J Dub, they still go out there and beat a red hot Cleveland team. I don't know. That kind of like dampened it a little bit for me. So I went with the Boston angle, maybe switch it up just a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into our second ranked potential matchup here, Joe. What did you have at number two?
My second most anticipated series would be the game we just talked about, Thunder versus Nuggets. Obviously, we know how that series went last year. Thunder winning in 7, but MPJ had a bum shoulder. No Aaron Gordon. You've got the two, what I still think are the two best teams in the West from a championship perspective. You've got the two best players in the world. You now have the added intensity that this regular season game brought. I don't think Nikola Jokic was really well liked around here before that game, but now he's either public enemy number one or number two. This just two great basketball teams that play a really fun style, are really well coached. There's some division rivalry there. So I'm going to go Denver.
I like it. I like it. Before I give my two, I want to ask. You mentioned he's obviously not a fan favorite here in OKC. What are the villain rankings in OKC? You've got obviously in no order. You got Luka, you got KD, you got Wemby, you got Jokic. Maybe I'm missing like a fifth one, but it feels like that's kind of the big four there. How would you rank that in terms of first being the number one villain?
Maybe we need to do. Heck, we could do a whole pod about this, Justin.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like KD to me is in his own bucket, and I think like the actual like people really don't like him. Like I just think it's a personal affront. He left us. We're gonna just boo him every time he comes back. But from like a hey, this guy's standing in our way. I think it's maybe a coin flip between Wemby and Jokic, and they both have their antics and some of the stuff that Wemby has said that's only added to this. But like, as far as the guy that gets booed most in introductions, I still think it's KD.
Yeah, I think so too. I think also KD is just such a tough one to rank because like, and he's talked about this before a couple like the last few times he's been here. That like it is a little performative as well, where like before and after the game, he does get some love from like the crowd. Like, and he's talked about this before where he's walking down the street. If he sees anyone, like they're not there heckling him outside of the actual game itself. You know, they're actually saying thank you for all you've done for the city and stuff like that. There's people asking for his autographs. Like, I think once the game is going on, there's obviously just going to be some natural like just hatred towards the guy who left, but like there is also still some underlying like love there, so it's a little bit hard to rank him. I think I would still just give him the one spot just because of obviously the lore behind it all pretty much. I think at the start of last season, Luka would have been 2 for me. I think it's kind of died down a little bit with the end of like the whole Dallas San Antonio potential rivalry thing. Like now that he's gone to the Lakers, he's still disliked here, but like I don't know, it just doesn't feel like before it was like Dallas was kind of like you mentioned with Wemby and Jokic. Dallas was in OKC's way. It beat it the year before that in the second round and looked to be like a real rivalry.
Yeah, closest regional rivalry. Like everything was there.
Yeah, Lakers, you don't really feel that as much. So I would probably go KD. I'm going to say Wemby because I think he's like a long-term future like threat for OKC for like years and years to come. Then probably Jokic, then probably Luka. And I don't really think there's like a fifth one that kind of would even be in the same like tier probably as those guys. There's no one that's coming to mind for me.
Yeah, I would. Harden still gets booed a lot. It makes really no sense. But
Yeah.
The KD thing to me, it's easy for me to say as a non-fan, but like in a perfect world, people in Oklahoma City should stand up and give that guy ovation every time he comes to town because the Thunder wouldn't be the Thunder without him. But that's a story for another day.
Definitely. Well, let's get back on track here with my second most anticipated potential playoff series, and it's the same as yours. It's Denver. We've obviously already seen what it can be in the playoffs from last year. We've got the MVP front runners going up against each other. Two great coaches going up against each other. So for me, it's number two just because the reason why it's not number one is because we've already seen it. So my number one is something that we haven't seen, and I'm sure it's yours as well. It's San Antonio, just for the simple fact that this is something that I think could be a very long-term rivalry, and it would be the first one. So it's very exciting. I would love to see it happen. So for me, San Antonio would be number one. Obviously, the Spurs playing some great basketball all season, but especially as of late, I think they're on an 11-game winning streak. Have just trimmed the deficit there between themselves and OKC to 2 games for the number one spot in the West. San Antonio 4-1 against OKC this regular season. They played 5 times, and pretty much all the games, at least when guys were healthy, were very competitive, very intense, a playoff-like atmosphere. So it'd be cool to see that in an actual 7-game setting.
Yeah, it's my number one, and I didn't have to think too hard about it. We talked about Wemby being the villain. There's all sorts of connections. Obviously, Sam having kind of grown up in that Spurs organization, 2 organizations that get compared to each other a lot because they're small market, well run, have a lot of success. And I just think like the Spurs were the first team to really like stand up to the Thunder this year, and I thought maybe the most impressive win of the season is what they did on Christmas. Coming to Oklahoma City and getting that win just when you were like, okay, this is the game the Thunder should have, circled, wants its revenge. San Antonio still comes in here and wins. That was enormous. Yeah, I think they're a short-term rival. They're even more so a long-term rival, but they could win the whole thing. And here's the bad news for the Thunder is as things stand on March 1st, San Antonio's in second, Denver is in fourth. So you're looking at a scenario in which you might have to play both of those teams. Ideally, you want the Nuggets to get up to 3 and have to play the Spurs in the second round. Because, as of now, that second round matchup, you're looking something like the winner of Denver, Minnesota, and then San Antonio would either play, maybe a Houston in the second round. So you'd love for Denver and San Antonio to match up and at least one of them knock the other out.
Yeah, without a doubt. If you have a playoff route of like, let's say first round match, it would be a team like Phoenix. Obviously, OKC would still win, but it would be a very physical.
Yeah, they'd play hard.
Yeah, it'd be a very, very, very difficult or competitive first round series. Then you'd have Denver potentially. Then you would have San Antonio. I mean, that's a tough route to get all the way to the finals. But yeah, I think we're pretty much in agreement just in the sense that like that's something that we just have not seen yet, and I think we've kind of gotten a sense of what it could be like in the regular season. If we saw that in a playoff series, I think the intensity would go up even another level. I think that'd be very entertaining. We'd also have like, what's that?
No. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm so excited to ask you a question, but go ahead.
I was gonna say we'd also have like there's the Chet and Wemby matchup. I think there's also a cool thing with like the head coaches in the sense that not homegrown because they're not from here, but in the sense that like 2 guys who grew up or were kind of came up within the organization from the G League to the actual NBA team. That's cool as well. So there's just a lot of storylines for that series that I think would be great.
What realistic series, just from Justin Martinez's standpoint, would you least like to see? And every series is going to be fun to cover, but if you're just like, I could do without that.
If Golden State makes it, I'm not interested in a Golden State series. I think it would be
not either.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty quick. I'm like looking at the playing teams. I think Phoenix would be a great first round series. Like that would be my pick for a first round matchup. out of that bunch. Right now, it's Phoenix, Golden State, Portland, and the Clippers. Um, yeah, I mean Clippers. They've already traded away Harden and Zubac, so like that's kind of I've lost interest in that one there. Portland, I would love to go to Portland. Like if we're
Yeah.
talking cities, Portland will probably be up there, but I would say Phoenix would be the best one there. Yeah, Golden State will probably be my least favorite, I think.
I think I might go the Clippers just because we've talked the trade to death. There's nothing else to say here, and we'd have to wind it back up. So I might go with the Clippers.
And it's a little bit of a, I don't know, if we're talking the actual teams that are not in the play-in, I get that the regular season matchups have been really good. I'm not like super interested in a Minnesota series. We saw it last year. We saw OKC win pretty easily in 5 games. I don't think it was a very like exciting series. And like as much as Minnesota has like, had some impressive wins over OKC during the regular season, I think on paper, I don't think they've gotten significantly better to where they could really close the gap in the postseason against OKC, assuming both teams are healthy. So I think that one would kind of be a little bit of like a letdown if there was some hype building up during the regular season. I don't think it would really like live up to be much in the postseason.
So would you rather see Houston than Minnesota, just from an entertainment standpoint?
I think so. You've got the KD angle, which is great. It would be one of those like rock fights as well. Houston, I am a little bit more down on just because of like, the Steven Adams injury, I think is big for like what they want to do in terms of being like an oversized team that kills you on the glass. So like, I think competitively they've taken a step back because of that. But I still think there's just a little bit more of like a storyline to that one for me in terms of what would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a toss up to me. We have seen Minnesota, but Ant is just, you can't take your eyes off the guy when he's on the court, and he's bound to say something that will spark discussion in a locker room. Chris Finch is just, I don't want to say he's a miserable human being, but I might lean that direction.
It sounds like that's what you're saying. If you don't want to say it, you just said it.
I got to be careful though. Like, there's a scenario in which Chris Finch might one day wind up in OKC. I don't see it happening, but you got to guard against that. And then I don't want to say, well, I once said you were a miserable human being. Nice to meet you. I'm Joe. But anyway.
Anyways, let's wrap this one up just with a very quick look at this upcoming road trip for OKC. It's obviously at Dallas tonight as this is coming out, 7 p.m. Then you've got at Chicago at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. This is all Central Time, obviously. And then Wednesday, second out of a back-to-back, a 6 o'clock game against the New York Knicks. Joe, just looking at it real quick, what do you kind of feel like would be the most realistic, I guess, record for OKC during this 3-game road trip here?
I'm going 3-0. Because you're looking at that Knicks game, so that's March 4th. They're actually playing the Spurs right now as we speak, but that March 4th game against the Thunder is going to be on the second night of a road home back-to-back for New York. So those are always a little tricky. I know it's a back-to-back for the Thunder as well, but sometimes they don't feel as bad if you're already on the road in the first place. So I'm going to say the Thunder gets all 3 of these.
Yeah, I'm going to go with it as well. Obviously, that's the big one. Like Dallas is a team that has lost, however, 12 of its last 14 games. No Cooper Flag tonight, left midfoot sprain. You'd expect OKC to win this one pretty easily. They have a pretty clean injury report. OKC does. Still missing Jalen Williams, J-Dub, and AJ Mitchell. But other than that, everyone's still in it here. So I would imagine OKC wins that one pretty easily. Same for Chicago. Has lost 14 of its last 15 games. 2 teams in Dallas and Chicago that I don't think are even trying to win these games, to be honest with you. I think they're just trying to improve their lottery odds. So I would expect OKC to win those pretty easily. New York, second out of a back-to-back is tough, but I just think it's such a good matchup for OKC on paper, assuming obviously they don't also rest guys on the second out of a back-to-back. Like I just think the rim protection for New York is something that OKC can really capitalize on. You've got 2 guys in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the perimeter. and at the rim. It's really hard to hide their defensive shortcomings there, especially against a team like OKC that will capitalize. So I think OKC wins that one as well. I think it's a 3-0 on the road here. But Joe,
have you been to MSG?
I've not. This is gonna be my first time at Chicago and New York. So excited for that. I wish it wasn't the second night of a back-to-back in New York. I wish I had more time there. But yeah, it'll be cool though. Get to go see our good friend Joel Lorenzi in Chicago. I don't know if he's making the trip for New York or not. But then yeah, get to go out to MSG after that. So it'll be a fun trip, even though it's not gonna be a lot of sleep for sure.
Yeah, it's my favorite place in the NBA to watch a game. I mean, you just feel that there's something different when you're there. I mean, no, it's not even close to the nicest arena, but looking forward to hearing your experiences there. Also, I just like pulled up the schedule on ESPN, and they show like tickets as low as, and then it's a link to Vivid Seats, a proud sponsor, I suppose, in an alternate universe of this podcast. The cheapest tickets for that Knicks game, $234 a piece.
Yeah, that's I wonder how much of that is the Thunder effect, and just also I don't know what the average is throughout the season. I'm sure it's an expensive ticket seat like the whole season, but I'm sure you get a little bit of a boost there.
Yeah, I think there's probably a Thunder tax, but you're probably right. It's a tough ticket no matter what.
Yeah. Well, it should be a lot of fun, Joe. I appreciate you for getting on here, and I appreciate you guys for listening. We will see you all next week. Thanks so much.